Before we get down to it, a quick reminder that if you want things in your inbox, we'll put things in your inbox with the Hump Day News newsletter. It's a regular wrap-up of coverage past and content to come, with links, tips, taters, and tots served up fresh, nice, and hot. And if you're subscribed to the newsletter but not signed up for the Backyard, shame on you. The Backyard is a members-only area at Hump Day News where you'll find all that's best and bizarre at HDN. We've got Mapley Power Rankings, letters from the editor, our incel advice column, and more. Sign up at the Hump Day News to log in and enjoy. In this episode, we welcome Ted Chase, editor at QRO Magazine. This is one of 4 episodes that he'll be contributing to at our Humpcast, so please have a listen. All right, we welcome to the Humpcast Ted Chase. He's a writer, photographer, editor, and impresario at QRO Magazine, based in New York City. He's a music maven who fills his days investigating the depths of the sights. All right, fair enough. All right, trends. Let's switch to music trends in 2023, and maybe it's paying more attention to drummers. But as I had one to present. I don't know if you have one or more, but why don't you start us off?
There's the big, you want to go into mainstream news, is the Taylor Swift and the Ticketmaster Live Nation issue, which you could probably find, but I feel like you could find better about that. Other people have analyzed this better.
No, but all right, but tell me why that's a trend. Like,
well,
what's going to happen?
When people looking at people, there's the issue.
You think something's actually going to change in 2023?
Well, I think it's the way people are. Well, it's a question. Will it actually change? Will Ticketmaster, and is it really Ticketmaster's fault? Because maybe it's just, there's also just too many people wanted to see Taylor Swift. And there's issues of the online system, of like new ways to stop scalping, of ways to sort of release. And because then they want to talk about a trend. There was the, having the various pre-releases of tickets, where they didn't even do a general release of tickets because they had all been sold out for Taylor Swift. But it's also, because and her specific thing is, I was discussing this with my teenage niece. So this gets that she hasn't toured in a long time because of COVID. She's released like 3 records and to re-release the Taylor's version records. So they even get people who maybe didn't listen to the new record or the sort of the indie records that she did, Folklore and Evermore, during COVID, but remember from then and still want to go. And it's the ticketing, the concert things. It's can people do enough shows to sort of,
right. There's a whole laundry list of issues here. If you or anyone listening wants to follow up and hear kind of a fatalistic summary of the issue, check out the New York Times Popcast. They did a segment on Ticketmaster, and they really, listening to it, they really were just very despondent and just hopeless about it, as if it could never be improved upon. But I agree that like supply and demand issues, sometimes there just is more interest in a show than there's seats to sell to the people who are interested. But that's just one part of the puzzle.
Yeah, she's playing the biggest, American football stadiums, the biggest places she can play. She'll play multiple nights at one place, which makes the touring easier. It means she can hit more places. But also, I think one of the issues with that is then people try to buy tickets for multiple nights. As you
Sure.
would, like whoever the band was, wherever they're playing multiple nights. There are going to be people who want to go to multiple nights, which is fine, but it means that it's not necessarily, covering the same amount of people,
and add to that laundry list, scalper issues.
Yeah. And this was like the scalper Super Bowl.
Monopoly issues between Ticketmaster and Live Nation in terms
of the same company, if they were merged in.
Right.
So I don't want to say bad about Live Nation because I work with them and they have a very nice press request.
No, I understand. It's a multifaceted issue. And a lot of people are saying a lot of things about what's good or bad or can be fixed or can't be fixed on multiple sides. But if you're listening in here as a music trend in 2023, so what's the trends? I ask again, like, is it just going to be a topic of conversation in 2023?
Yeah, I think it's also, I mean, well, okay, I guess if you're maybe not like this music industry trend, I suppose obviously it's not going to, affect the music specifically, like what instruments you play or what have you. But it's going to be a thing that people are talking about, and then going into this summer. And it also goes to also the viability of the music business, which has become very, if you're Taylor Swift or whoever, you're very, very successful, but all these other artists, it's the difficulty of, in so many ways to be the middle class. There you've got, like, you see that in films where you've got your, your blockbusters, and then you've got your little indie films, and you don't have your sort of regular sort of middle class films or TV shows. There's the long running ones, and then there's the ones that do 2 seasons of 8 episodes, and that's it. And it's and that it's so, but then it's yeah, and then there's
it's harder to be sort of the musical middle class. This has been a discussion that's been brewing for a little while. I don't know if you've tracked any of the discourse from David Lowery,
David Lowery, I think
so he's
he goes on a bit
on this topic, and he gives some really interesting insights into his career with Camper von Beethoven and Lowe, and just as like sort of the middle ranks of a band in America, like what the economic realities of doing that were. He has some really good insights. I would direct people there as well. And he has a organization that he worked with or contributes to that advances some of these rights issues for artists. The name of it escapes my mind.
The Copyright Alliance.
What is it now?
I think it's the Copyright Alliance, or I once at South by Southwest, Cacker played an event for the Copyright Alliance, and I'm now on their event list. And
it could be that, it could be something else.
Something associated with
but in any event, yeah. All right. So trend for 2023, continued discussion on the sort of Ticketmaster live.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because we were talking about this. We were talking about this in the Pearl Jam was talking about this in the 90s with Ticketmaster.
Right, and it just got worse because at least then Ticketmaster hadn't allied with Live Nation, which, it was also, in my understanding,
the online where, I mean, some of it also could be like, it was a joke Wanda Sykes said when she was doing hosting the Daily Show. We should go back to how it was in the 70s, where you all had to line up at the music venue when the tickets go out on sale.
Right, everyone, which is a horrible system as well.
Yeah, it's a horrible system, but it definitely rewarded. It's just that, like, especially thinking a lot of.
Yeah, and you still get.
They got up and they got on their things, which is, it's the way they did the things that how you were supposed to do it, but that's going to, because it's so much easier to do it, so many more people are going to do it.
Right.
Whatever it is.
Right. You can write a program to wait in line for an online ticket buying thing and just wreak total havoc.
Everyone can get it. I mean, one of the things that Ticketmaster admitted in the sales is that they shouldn't have done sales for the whole tour at the same day.
Right. That was very
said, okay, here are our ticket sales for our 3 nights at MetLife Stadium.
You release them in batches.
And especially you could do that because sometimes I think it was, and that they also claimed there was hacked and stuff like that. I don't know the whole.
Yeah, which I don't doubt, but
I mean, because like I said, it was. I'm sure scalpers were all the bots, all the that was their Super Bowl.
It was a field day.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. All right. More discourse on that in 2023. Resolution? Who knows? We'll see. All right, my musical trend 2023. I'm only giving one here. Discount CD collecting. I keep seeing this and I'm baffled by it. People like Gen Z's on TikTok just pumped about a batch of discount CDs that they picked up at their local Goodwill or what have you. But I kind of get it in a sense. It's always like a huge bonus when you feel like you've stumbled onto a treasure trove of new music, regardless of the medium, whether it's vinyl, tape, or CD, or what have you. So if used CDs in 2023 are a way to get cheap, access to a lot of good music in a way that is weirdly curated, because it's music that people thought enough about to own at some point, right? It's not just like floating in the ether and Spotify. You can grab it or you won't. there's a certain history and a provenance to used CD found in a Goodwill or what have you, and it's certainly cheap. So I'll give them that. But I've got to push back here. Just based on the media like type alone, CDs are terrible. There's no reason you should go back to them. They get scratched so easily. Ted, do you own any? Do you have a CD collection anymore?
I have a CD collection because you know what? I'll tell this. I didn't realize this was a Gen Z thing because I've done it because at the end of 20, I guess it was at the end of 2020, I still had MP3s, and then my external hard drive that had my MP3s died. So I've been having to reconstruct it and having those old CDs. And so one thing was neat was then I had all the old CDs from like the 90s when I was, when I was young, and then reconstruction from that. And then I would go to I went to my old Princeton Record Exchange record store. And then because also it is very cheap. These would be like $1 or $2 a CD, and you can find all this stuff. And it was because then you still have it if you lose the thing, if you lose the thing. And there is a certain, you feel like you're curating your collection, like you're building a collection, like the way people had with record collections. CDs, I mean, I think one of the issues with CDs do get scratched, though. I find that depends how you take care of them. It's also a key thing is how you load, if you're using like iTunes or something like that, how you load them onto your thing, that the default bit rate is low quality. But if you put it up to a higher bit rate, it obviously takes up more space. But if you have enough space, it's a lot better.
You mean when you're digitizing from a CD?
Yeah, when you're putting it in like the CD disk drive, and if you you can get the setting that I think a lot of people
like MP3s are like trash, but like FLAC. Have you ever used FLAC? That's like
I don't use. I know other people who use FLAC. I've not known how to use it. I just converted. I still use MP3s.
It's good for convenience.
Yeah, and also I think there's it depends on your audio file. I think it's diminishing returns in terms of like how much better does it really get.
I need the best. Only the best for me.
See, I don't know. I deal with I know a lot of audiophiles who are like, because also whatever records, those get damaged. I remember those would skip I remember growing up, those would skip if I was a kid and ran in the living room. My dad records would skip, and those get warped, and
they do all that. Yeah.
It's just I don't know.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a mythology to the sonic quality of a record. But I do confess that I'm only collecting one type of audio media type these days, and it's vinyl. I don't want to mess with CDs that scratch. I love cassettes. They they're hardy, but they warp, and they just don't sound as good.
Oh yeah, I came up on cassettes, and also the thing with, I came up on cassettes, and which leads me to liking albums, because then this is when people with CDs, you couldn't skip a song or stuff unless you fast forward into the
right.
But and I definitely think people, wherever you are, I think that's one of the things maybe with Gen Z is that they don't have, if they didn't get into vinyl, they didn't have any physical copies of anything. So they pick some, it's almost they want to have a physical. Everyone wants
and to be fair, there's a price barrier. Like vinyl is kind of expensive. I get it. Although to be fair, you can get some pretty cheap used vinyl. Like most of my collection is used stuff at good record stores that was just getting overlooked.
Yeah. But if you want the that's the thing is one thing you'll say for CDs is nobody's spending extra. It's not like you need the original CD it's not any more valuable than the reissue or
not yet, but we'll see.
Maybe
there's a market for everything.
Gen X, because I think things with vinyl is then when baby boomers got rich and now they're sort of retired, it pushed up the price of vinyl, and even with Gen X.
Right. Vinyl. You're seeing old video games like NES, like those games that are packaged, getting resold for a lot. It's kind of a heated up market. All right, Ted, we're at less than a minute.
Okay, yeah. We don't need to go anymore.
All right. I want to thank you for joining Humpcast on our inaugural effort. as a kind of collaboration. I hope to have you back again to talk more music at another time.
Sure.
Thanks for joining. Visit us at the site at humpday.news for good junk in art, politics, sports, and culture. Follow us on our socials, subscribe to the newsletter, sign up for the backyard, and for the love of God, remember, every day is hump day.
Yeah, because that was sort of that was that prime Miramax. It was when Harvey Weinstein, because I remember because that was Harvey Weinstein once harassed her, and Brad Pitt, before he was a star, was like, "Don't touch, fucked up, get off that." And she was more known for being Blythe Danner's daughter. My mother's Blythe Danner fan.
Who's this?
Blythe Danner. She's well known. I mean, she's not as well known as Gwyneth Paltrow became, but she was her time well known.
Okay.
But yeah,
so she's eclipsed her actress mother.
I'd say so, though that could also just be like age, like
generational.
Paltrow's younger than her mother.
All right, fair enough. All right, so moving on from Gwyneth Paltrow. So we graduated. We went our separate ways around sort of 97, 98. Now, you know, you went so deep on the last one and you nailed it. So you're probably going to know who was the next.
Oh, well, I mean, then there was, of course, there was Jennifer Aniston.
Yes. Yeah. So let's say that was 1998, the start of the Jennifer Aniston period.
Because they were seen together at the Free Tibet concert in, I want to say it was 97, 98. It was a big thing. It was in New York, because it was originally the 25th anniversary. And radio, I remember because I saw something about how radio played Irving Plaza, and like all the famous people were in, but at the Free Tibet, they were seen canoodling.
Oh, okay. Yes, Free Tibet. Was that the one that the Beastie Boys?
Yes, it was the Beastie Boys arranged it. It was I mean, it was a very famous, but yes, and she was at the height of her like you know, Friends fame, and he'd been, you know, and he'd sort of had graduated to being big movie star.
And he did a cameo on Friends.
Yes, while they were dating.
A nod to the relationship.
And it was funny because in the cameo, he actually hated her. His character hated her character. They'd gone to high school together, and he'd been friends with David Schwimmer's character, who was a dork, and she was popular. And apparently his character had been a dork and like hated her, but had like, you know, changed his whole life.
What a clever role reversal from the writers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and it was.
All right, I'm gonna telescope a little bit here, Ted, because there's just too much drama in Brad Pitt's life. But you know, 2004 to 2014, well, you tell me when did Angelina? I'm just gonna jump in there. When did Angelina come into the scene?
Well, that was with what was it, Mr. and Mrs. Smith? I don't know what year that was. But I mean, that was the whole thing, that he basically, at least from what I remember, you know, not knowing that he left Jennifer Aniston for Angelina Jolie because of that movie or something. I don't know the whole.
So I mentioned 2014 because that's when Jolie and Pitt marry. Yeah. So if we're thinking about this period from 2004 to 2014, Pitt started sort of messing around with Angelina Jolie in 2004. So what was going on with you and QRO?
I had QRO didn't exist yet.
That period.
Oh, well, QRO didn't exist in 2004. I started with it in 2000, very end of 2006, and really starting in 2007. Sort of the first concerts I covered were right at the start of 2007. I mean, then it was, so I've been doing it since then.
Because I remember sort of checking in as a contributing author for QRO. Oh, I don't know. Probably doing a lot from like 2008 to 2012, somewhere in that realm. And by then you were sort of firmly entrenched as, you know, a music editor there. You're working with a lot of writers and photographers.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I don't know if you started in 2008. Because it took about a year before I was like really working with other people. And then because I think it was 2000, I want to say 2009 or 2010 was the first year I did South by Southwest, which I think of because that's coming up. I'm trying to remember what year I did that. Maybe that was 2009. But because that was sort of the first big travel away from. Well, I did one festival before that in Austin, but that was sort of a big like travel festival, and because it's a longer festival. It was 4 days then, now it's 5, even 6.
Yeah, that's one of the things I envy about your work over there at QRO. All the festivals, I don't quite make as many as you do. You're a real trooper, and I think you'll be coming into Boston for Boston Calling.
Yeah. I mean, they are a commitment, and they're a little. It gets easier when you do them multiple years, but it also is a little less exciting. Like that first year of South by Southwest, just running around, and then because it's had some sort of its ups and downs, and it was hit hard by COVID because it happens in March, and so it's had to cancel for 2 years, not one, like most festivals. But and it's sort of more sponsor and dependent. It's just different thing than
I've heard from some people a sort of decline in the sort of
even before it sort of got a little too big. Like there's a publicist.
But perhaps that's a topic for another day.
Yeah. That's it's on my mind because
now. So 2016 to present, you're plugging away at QRO. You're writing, you're editing, you're doing photographs. Much like Brad Pitt, you're staying below the radar. You've disconnected from Angelina Jolie. I don't know what your proverbial metaphorical Angelina Jolie is. But a few recent hits. So Brad Pitt linked with model Nicole Poturalaski in 2020. Page Six reported that the Fight Club actor was seeing model Nicole Poturalaski. However, not much is known about their low-key relationship. The two were photographed together in 2019, but reportedly had split by October 2020.
Oh, well, COVID.
Yeah. But what struck me about that was they tied him to Fight Club.
Yes. I was thinking that when you said
2022. I was like,
that's that like 1999 movie.
Yeah, well, where I pulled that from? It was from the English version of a French magazine.
Oh, yeah, she might be a French
So
model.
I think that maybe they were a little like not quite as in touch. Maybe Fight Club made a big impact in France.
Yeah.
But getting most recently, quote, again from the same English language French magazine, after being spotted together at a Bono concert, or Bono? On November 13th, the source revealed to People that Pitt and Inez de Ramon have been dating for a few months. The insider explained, quote, they met through a mutual friend. She is very nice, end quote. And that, quote, Brad is really into, end quote, her. De Ramon currently works for the jewelry brand Anita Co.
Okay.
I end with that because I want to say perhaps the Humpcast collaboration of Hump Day News and QRO is perhaps the beginning of another relationship.
or you're a model that dates brave, or he's in his dating models that are like in their 20s, known as your Leonardo DiCaprio phase.
Okay, yeah. Just for fun, they're adults. He's got his bevy of children. So
yeah, well, it's because he's still probably in his rebound from the divorce, and I think that was not a somewhat acrimonious divorce. There have been, and he had kids with Angelina Jolie, and she had previously, there was adopted kids, so it's
I think once you enter the dad phase, like post-dad phase, post-divorce dating is just kind of different. It's like
and when you look like Brad Pitt, like you can pull off, or Leonardo DiCaprio, and you're that famous, you can pull up. Like people are like it's like they're not like, oh, she's after him for his money. No. She's
no. That's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, he works very hard at looking like Brad
Seinfeld. Pitt. He's not getting like dated for his looks.
I don't know. He's married. I mean, he's married and has kids.
Is he married?
I think there was a period where he was dating, like the end of Seinfeld. He was the series. He was dating like a younger woman.
All right, I predict he'll go back to that phase, whether he's at there or not. Yeah. All right, let us move on then, Ted. So it's been a long road, both for Brad Pitt and us. But here we are.